Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, Sarah. I'm so glad you're on the program. Thank you for taking time to do this in what must be a very busy period. Tell me about 211. I know it started. It was never here until, because I worked on the early part of it through United Way. So tell us about 211.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and we're honored to talk about 211 in any way that we can. So 211 is a program that started about 35 years ago out of Atlanta, and it started in their United Way. What they found was no matter how many great programs there are, if you don't know about them or can't find them, then there's a big problem. So 211 is a 3-digit number that folks call when they're in crisis, not emergency, not like 911, but when they're in crisis. I don't know where the local shelter is. I don't have food in my cupboard to feed my kids dinner tonight. They dial one number, and that number is what's going to connect them to local resources. So it's free, it's confidential, it's 24/7. You can chat with us, you can email us, you can search our website, you can look at the exact same database that our team looks at. It's a one-stop shop when you're in need to connect to community resources. And we're so proud to, provide that resource. We've been in Michigan, we've been a full statewide system since 2017, but many of us have had this service in our region since 2009. We had another expansion in 2015, but since 2017, every Michigander has the access to pick up the phone, dial 3 digits, and be connected.
What kinds of calls do you get? Does 211 get?
So our typical pre-COVID, 65 to 70% of our calls are utilities, which is usually our number one call. People need help paying their electric, filling their propane tank. They need to be, just connected to those services. And then we have housing and food. So those are our top 3 requests. And housing could be anywhere from rent assistance to where's the local shelter, all kinds of housing issues. And food could be, I need a meal, or I need to learn how to sign up for WIC, which is Women and Infant Children, if you're not familiar with the program. But those are our top 3 calls, but we have thousands of different services throughout the state in our database. So, I tell people all the time, don't struggle alone. Give us a call.
That is so helpful, because sometimes I would imagine you don't know what you need that can be helpful to you. You just know you have a huge problem, and not knowing even someone to listen, right? And to figure out what's needed, and then what agency or nonprofit or whatever can step up to it. How did you get in this line of work?
Well, I'm so blessed. I think that there is a divine path that we kind of have. So I started in more direct service, but I've always really been in prevention and public health. I was on the board at 211 for a little while, and then I had to leave because of a job position. And after I left, the executive director, he was moving on. And the board called me and asked me if I would apply. And I thought they were being nice, like, hey, we know you, we need more applicants. And I applied, and it was a great fit. I remember telling them, if you can find anyone who loves 211 as much as I do, hire them. Because I do have a passion for this system. I believe that we are in public health every single day. It's called social determinants of health. What that means is, there are different things that increase our health, going to your doctor, living in a safe place, But there are also things like having your electric paid, right? That's very important. How do I focus on getting my kids, all the things that they need when we don't have electric on? So it's always been an exciting service for me, and it just came across and they offered me the job, and I have loved every day since. There have been some stressful days, especially, in the current situation that we're in, but we're all looking for ways to serve, and I get to serve every day at work.
Do you find the number of calls have increased or decreased now because people are sheltering at home?
There's a little bit of both. So when we first had the emergency orders, our call volume spiked really high. And then it started to come down. One thing that we've learned is, I said pre-COVID-19, housing and utilities were very high calls. But right now, currently, you can't be evicted and your utilities can't be shut off. So those calls have been suspended. We still have quite a few calls for food. And we know that when utilities can be turned off and when people can be evicted, the calls will go back up to what we have seen before. So yeah, we've seen a spike, but we're kind of leveling out now. But we're still here, fully staffed. There is never, it shouldn't pause for you. If you want to give us a call, I have a great team. I'm so proud of the people who handle our contacts. So those folks are going to, if they can't help you, if it's a question that we don't answer, they're going to be polite and they're going to do whatever they can. But if you have a question, one of the things we have seen right now is people who've never, ever had to ask for help are calling, right? It's a nice way to have no judgment because it's a phone call. It's completely confidential, and you can just make that call and say, how can I find this? Is there anything out there for me? So we have seen an increase in callers who've never had to reach out to 211 before.
Are there enough people working that people aren't put on hold for a long time?
That's always the goal, right? So right now you call into a computer, right? I didn't know that before I took this job. We no longer call phones. Really, you're calling into a computer. So when you dial 211, you're calling into a computer system, and you're going to enter your zip code. There are 7 centers in Michigan. So based on your zip code, your call is going to be routed to the appropriate center. And when you're directed to my center, we have a very short speed of answer where you very quickly answer the call. You're going to hear a very short recording about the census because we're really encouraging people to complete their census. It's really important right now. But I can have 3 people waiting to take calls, and then all of a sudden 6 calls come in. So I can't guarantee you that there's not going to be a short delay. We offer callbacks. More often than not, though, we do answer the phone very quickly at my center.
So is there one person on? What kind of a staff do you have for telephone answering?
Yep. So that really depends. So for example, Mondays are the busiest days that we see, and then it goes down through the week. Fridays are a less busy day, and then the weekend is very, very slow in my region. So we have typically at least 3 people on during the day, and then at night we do have a center that is taking our backup calls, and they typically have 1 person on the nights and weekends. So it really just depends when you call, but we do our best to regularly look at numbers and make sure that we're staffed appropriately.
So do you get calls like, I'm escaping from a rape, what do I do? Or do you get calls about wife or husband abuse? Or anything that's like criminal, like in the moment and they don't know what to do?
So I'm under the Michigan Public Service Commission. That's who determines, who can answer for 211. So when we are designated a 211, there's a lot of things that we have to do. And one of them is every person who takes our calls is highly skilled, and they're trained to, if it is an emergency and they dialed 211 when they should have dialed 911, we can make that transfer very quick because we certainly don't have to waiting, right? But there are folks who call us with questions about abuse. So I don't know what to do. I think I'm worried, and we can get folks in contact with their local domestic violence shelters, give them the non-emergency numbers for their sheriff's department. There's a lot of things that we can do. But yes, we have taken some emergency calls where we had to transfer them to the local police departments or 911 dispatch. It's not very common. People, have been trained really since, I believe we got it in preschool, to dial 911 in an emergency.
So are you making any preparations after we graduate or we're allowed to leave the house for depression or stir crazy, or, is the whole helping community doing something? I read this is going to be a significant issue.
Yeah, so mental health, we're seeing that as an issue right now. Our calls are typically, 4 to 8 minutes. We can get people where they need to go very quickly. We try not to keep someone longer than they need to, but we're having a lot of callers who just want to talk. They need a connection right now. So we have set up some great programs to help people with that. Some of them are regional, some of them are local down to the specific county. Most of our community mental health agencies have a hotline to talk to. We can even transfer them to, there's a crisis response team at one of the 211s in Southwest Michigan, so we can transfer them to that team. There's a lot of options, because I don't know about you, but even I am having a really tough time, right? This is not easy for anyone. So if we do, we recognize that that's an issue, we're going to find some help.
What I do is try to find something funny. If something goes wrong, and life is full of things that go wrong, some, like jobs, relationships, health, this and that. And I try to find something funny in it. It doesn't have to be right at the moment, but when you tell the story at another time, when you have perspective, you solve the problem, something. And I find if I can laugh, I'm free. If I can't laugh, I'm just worried or, intense on the problem. So I haven't heard his humor much mentioned right now, but I even myself, where do you go for funny films? I went to the library, and they have their films, but there are not many of them funny, just very few. So anyway, that's...
You can go to YouTube. There's a lot of fun, great things that you can find to help deal with your, if you're struggling. There is a national company that has a pretty common application for your phone that deals with wellness, and they actually have offered 211, the folks who are taking 211 calls, that app free for 3 months. So our team has been using it and making sure that we do focus on wellness, because our calls have gotten much more complicated and somewhat difficult. We deal with crisis every day.
Yes.
But right now, the calls are just much more complicated.
I wonder how we're going to come out with this now that they're saying, there may be waves of the virus, it's a remarkable time, but no bombs are falling. So you see, it's all what you compare it to, right?
Yes, and there's something to be grateful for. I believe that's my own personal there's something to be grateful for every day, whether it is, I've always loved having a pet, but living alone right now, she's a lifeline. She really is important, more than ever before. She's always been important, but she's a lifeline more than ever before. And even, things like this, seeing people on a screen. Before I would have thought, no, that doesn't help. It does help. It helps to see a smiling face.
We're going to learn a lot. I'm just not sure what we're going to learn. I'm asking myself, and actually the purpose of these interviews are now, is what is life like now? Because it will be different going to the future, right? We could look back on this time and say, this is what we were doing. So I guess I would be asking you, you've been in your job a while, you've seen the results of the virus, you've seen just normal life, but what could you do differently or recommend that the 211 or another system take on that would help people, I don't say differently necessarily, but more fully? Is there something to say, gee, we wish we could do that or say that, or?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying I love 211. It is my passion. It is, right now my mission, my vision is to make sure that folks, I can't stand the idea of someone struggling by themselves. We're here for you. So I think that I see many, many press conferences where there's new websites and new phone numbers and this hotline and that phone number and this, that's very confusing. And that's what makes 211 so critical. And we've had really good promotion by our administration, but I think it could have been better. I think if we would have said, let's not open up another hotline. Let's not open up, 15 different ways. Let's send people to one source so they're not confused, right? So I think that that will be one of the things we learned coming out of this is we have the system in place, and I think it could have been better, used from day one. But again, we have been mentioned many times by our administration, which is great, but I think it could have been planned out better. There's so much information that it can be overwhelming for someone who's in crisis. And if you just say, dial 3 digits, 3, that's it. You don't have to remember, this dot that, or 88, you don't have to remember any of that. Dial 3 digits. And I think that we would have served people the best way possible, and hopefully we'll learn for the future.
How do people become aware of 211 now? Do you post that somewhere, or is there a website? I mean, if I didn't know it, I don't see it around as a place to call.
Yeah, so we can always do better with outreach. I think that's one of the great things is there's always an opportunity. But being a small nonprofit, we don't have $1 million for campaigning, to do commercials and advertisement. So we do our best to stay involved in social media. We do our best to get information out there. We have done well. I think we could do better. And I think we're trying to do better, especially now for those folks who have never heard of us and do have to reach out and ask for help.
What I'm thinking about is I like to know what's going on with the virus locally, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to find out, it's just, and I would put the time into it. So I can imagine people under stress, even if they know, they lose the thought process in the moment of just high tension. And it's such a public service. It just ought to be on the back of all the public toilets or something,
There's lots of things that we've done.
911 for physical, and this for others, because life has its dark side, unfortunately. Can you bill 211? Or are you pretty much in the grid of the state?
What do you mean by that?
Well, because you said they call into the computer, which then routes them to their area code, local people.
Yep. So we can promote it the same way all over the state. The 3 digits are the 3 digits everywhere. In fact, most of the United States is covered with 211 right now, which is great. So we can promote it in many ways. I believe there have been some great national news stories, snippets about 211. But I would agree, programs like yours, having me on and talking about 211, someone's going to hear that and say, you know what? I am struggling and I need to ask for some help. We do have at my center in the 23 counties I serve, we do have free promotional material that we'll mail out to folks. So if you want to put something up in your lunchroom, if you want to put something up in your place of worship, because
really?
we never know when someone's struggling. So the best way to get to my website is if you go to 211.org. That's the national 211 website. You put in your zip code, takes you right to my center.
But it assumes you have a smartphone or computer.
Well, you can use either, yes.
If you have it.
Yes. Well, you can also, people have called us and asked for promotional material. So what it just happens is they'll get the message to the folks like myself who would send that out.
I think you're really doing great work, but I see this tsunami of calls coming your way after a while. And are you funded through United Way, or how do you make a budget?
So,
Is that the wrong question?
no, I love talking about this. So yes, in most of our major areas, we're funded by our United Ways, but that's a portion of our funding. So the Department of Health and Human Services, the state of Michigan, does send quite a bit of money to each center to maintain that database that we have of services. And then each of my counties contributes a portion. So sometimes in my northern region, the county commissioners believe that it is an essential service. It is essential to be able to get help when you need it. So they might promote and pay for or contribute to our program. But very often, especially in the bigger communities, it is the United Way who backs us. So I always tell people, if you like our service, make sure you're donating to your United Way. It's really important because we're basic infrastructure. If you don't know how to get somewhere, then you're lost. Well, we're the map.
Just explain to me, are you a nonprofit? Are you part of the government? Are you a private agency or business? Where do you fall in the stream here?
Yeah, I'm an independent 501c3, independent nonprofit. So I do have a governing board. We have one person from each of the 23 counties I serve, but we do receive funds from the government because we do provide a service there. So yeah, I'm an independent nonprofit that, and I believe all of the 211s in Michigan are independent. They may be part of their local United Way. We have 2 of the 5 centers that are actually inside of their United Way, and then the rest of us are independent nonprofits.
So what I'm hearing you say is you cannot receive a direct contribution. If someone who was helped by 211 and they just wanted to support it, taking a check or cash or something like that isn't.
Yes, we can. We can take a contribution from wide variety of sources. Yes, we can take those, but I do encourage folks to give to their United Ways. It's really important to understand that if we don't have programs to send people to, then it becomes more and more difficult to answer that call. So the communities that have a United Way, I always encourage, you can even give through your United Way. If you feel important, like 211 has helped me, I know it's an important service, you can donate to your United Way, who will, filter that to us at 211.
I liked your point that you have to support United Way because they are supporting some of the agencies that you're referring people to.
Yeah, many of the services in our database that we're sending people to are programs of local United Ways. So it is really important, the bigger picture of, we need a healthy community, and that means making sure that there are programs that are funded, and our United Ways do a great job of that.
Do you, switching the subject slightly, do you look for a certain personality type when you hire to work the phones, to be on phones? And what is it if you do?
It's really important that we have people who are friendly. Number one, I always say that person calling, it could be my mom, it could be your mom, it could be, our grandma, it could be our grandpa. It's someone in need. So we need to first and foremost be friendly, and then be empathetic, making sure that we don't assume anything about anyone. So even though this may be the 50th call you've taken today, this person may have never spoke to you. So we treat every single person like they are our number one priority, because they're the only reason we exist. So we make sure that people are friendly, that they're empathetic, and then we have quite a bit of training. So my team, they are either on a path to national certification, or they already have that national certification. It's really important because, man, people can call us with so many different issues. It can be, a crisis that is, related to utilities, but it could be someone who is suicidal. So we have a very highly skilled team, and it's really important to also, do you talk too fast? We want to hear what someone sounds like on the phone. But those are the big ones. We want you to be friendly. We want you to be empathetic, to be able to listen to people.
So there's a certification involved in becoming a new 211 answerer. Interesting.
Yep. So our agency is nationally accredited, and our team all can get certified. And again, we ask that they either, as we hire them, that they're certified or that they're on a plan, because it's really important to have highly skilled people. We're offering a essential service, so we want to make sure that.
How do they get certified?
So it takes, if you're brand new, it takes 2 years of training. And that is both being on the phone and taking very specific training to make sure that you understand. It takes usually at least a month of one-on-one training before we'll even let you on a call by yourself, because, you know, again, it's very important. This is it's a really important job, but it takes about 2 years of experience plus training to get certified to take our contacts, to take our calls. And then on top of that, you can be trained for our database. That takes a little bit more time, because our database is very complex, and it's learning a new language and learning how to use that language appropriately when we list services.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This is an amazing organization, and it's amazing how much thought the organizers have put into training, right? And no doubt supervision, and how important it is to be friendly and helpful and compassionate. Yes, so thank you for being on the program. People will be amazed.
Thank you for having me.
To hear about the availability and the care that goes into it. Thank you so much. I know you're busy. Okay.
Thank you.
To contact Junia, send her an email at juniadonsthespark@gmail.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadonthespark.com. Thank you for joining us. See you next time on Junia Doan's The Spark.
Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.